Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous. Okay. Vladimir Putin. Yes, we're talking about him again. Has a very strange view of the world. In that view of the world, we are decadent, we are corrupt, we are a cancer on the face of the planet. By we, I mean Western civilization. We took a wrong turn at Aristotle and went in absolutely the wrong direction from there. What's Russia? Russia has the potential to bring a whole different form of civilization to the face of planet Earth, a form of civilization that saves the soul of the average human being. Why? Because Russia has something called Sobornost. And what in the world is Sobornost? Sobornost is a kind of mystic union. It is a kind of mystic brotherhood. It is a kind of mystic spirituality that brings almost all humans together. Almost all, because it doesn't bring together those corrupt, decadent, neoliberals, and just plain liberals of the West. Why? Because the West is riven by individualism. Because in the West there is a philosophy that pits man against man and woman against woman. Because in the West there is rampant competition and rampant individual greed, where individuals are only out for their own sake and not for the sake of their brothers, their sisters, their neighbors, or the people who think and feel the way that they do. The West is doomed to sink in sin. It is run by a corrupt, tiny little oligarchy of those who shovel in the money. You can read into that. Jews, I'm a Jew. It's a ridiculous idea. There are fewer Jews on the face of planet Earth than there are in just one Russian, well, let's take that, one Muslim city of the many cities in the 57 Muslim countries of the world, Cairo. Fewer Jews on the entire face of the planet than the folks in Cairo. And believe me, they don't control the world's money bags. But let's get back to Sobornost. So Sobornost, according to Sobornost, the neoliberal civilization is controlled by a tiny handful of bankers who are reducing all the rest of the people over whom they rule to a form of slavery and serfdom. And only Russia, which has a long tradition of seeing things not on the material level, but on the spiritual level, not on the individual level, but on the group level, but has a long tradition ever since the days of Byzantium, from which it got its Christianity, of bringing men and women together in Christ. Only Russia with Sobornost can save the world. How? Through an entirely different form of social organization. The form of social organization that is supposed to lie under a project, a giant geopolitical project called the Eurasian Union. And what form does that form of social structure take? There is no competition. Individuals work together in groups. They work together in groups under giant cartels. Cartels over oil, cartels over gold, cartels over all of the significant things of life. Why cartels? Because there is no competition within cartels. People work together in Sobornost, and all of that working under a government, an autocratic government, although they don't call it that. There's an autocratic government with an autocratic aristocracy running a tiny group of cartels, with all the rest of the world turned into loving, generous, cooperative brethren working in the spirit of Christ. What does that really amount to? It amounts to a dictatorship with an aristocracy of wealth that totally command the serfs of Russian society and of the Eurasian society to come. But the Eurasian Union is not just Russia, not by any stretch of the imagination. It is all of those nations that participate in the Eurasian spirit, that have become part of the Eurasian civilization, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, all of the Central Asian republics. And presumably, I mean, those, an enclave in Moldova, Belarus, the Ukraine, and presumably Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and God knows what else, because its mission, the Eurasian Union, the mission of Sobornost is to save the world by saving its soul, by redeeming it from materialism. Is Vladimir Putin's view right about the West? Not on your life. The West has been the most productive civilization in the history of mankind. It has more than doubled the annual lifespan. It has risen it from 36.5 years to 78.5 years. It has doubled it in 150 years. It has allowed the poorest paid workers in London to earn what an entire tenement full of dock workers, Irish dock workers, the poorest paid workers in London in 1850 earned. It has raised the average IQ 35 points since 1900. That's right. If you gave a Stanford Binet intelligence test, IQ test from 1900 to the average dolts in the streets of America today, they would average marginal geniuses, an IQ of roughly 135, 35 IQ points. And Western civilization, which we are told is the most violent in the history of mankind, is anything but. If you would have been born in Western civilization in 1650, your odds of dying a violent death at the hands of another human being would have been 9 times what they are today. If you'd been born in one of those lovely indigenous tribes that live at harmony with nature and in peace with their fellow men, your odds of dying a violent death at the hands of one of your fellow human beings would be 9 times what they are today. And Russia today has a life expectancy of 68 years. America has a life expectancy of 78.5 years. Canada, where they have a so-called socialist medical system, has a lifespan of 81.5 years. Sobornost has not been getting Russia anywhere. What's the problem here? We in the United States, we in the Western world, have a self-destructive narrative. It is a narrative that lies to us about ourselves. It is a narrative that cheats us out of our accomplishments. One of the lies in the system is not just the lies about longevity and wages and IQ and peace. It is the narrative of materialism. We are told that we are materialistic beings, but are we truly materialistic beings? What material possessions surround you right now? A cell phone, a laptop, and right now you're seeing me on my video camera. Are these things mere material possessions? No, they are pipelines to the human spirit. You do not buy a phone, a smartphone, because it gives you an extra 7.5 ounces of plastic and steel. You buy it for the thousands of conversations you will have with your fellow human beings, and the ways in which those conversations will validate you and uplift you and help you solve your problems. Your laptop is a giant pipeline to your fellow human beings and to all of the tools of your culture, its concepts, its facts. These are not material possessions. These are the ultimate tools of the human spirit. We need a new narrative that tells us unequivocally we have doubled the human lifespan, we have septupled the average income or the income of the poorest among us, we have lifted the IQ 135 points, we have increased the amount of peace in the world, at least in our part of the world, by a factor of 6, and that we have produced material things that tap the human spirit and give it freedom in ways that no previous civilization has ever done, and in ways that are highly unlikely to come from a Eurasian Union working under an Orthodox church, a Russian Orthodox church that relies on giant, oppressive social structures disguised as brotherliness and spirituality. America, let's get our narrative straight. This is Howard the Humongous speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make, or, and I hope my chin is in this shot, or, you want to know why? Ask how. And now for the idiocy of the evening as I demonstrate my incompetence at finding the off button. Bear with me. I found it!